Ladies and gentlemen, the opening sessions is about to begin. You are pleased to turn your camera on and mute your microphone during the opening ceremony. Opening ceremony, International Conference on Language, Linguistics, Literature, and Education, Faculty of Art and Education, Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia begins. Ladies and gentlemen, in honor to the national anthem, you are pleased to stay firm. Indonesia Raya. Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin the opening ceremony by saying Basmalah. The Honorable Head of Higher Education Service Region 2, Southern Sumatra, Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology, Republic of Indonesia, Professor Yuliansah, Ph.D., the Honorable Vice Rector of Academic Affairs of Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia, Dr. Haji Mahathir Mohamad, and managerial staff of Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia, the Honorable all keynote speakers, presenters, speakers, participants, and audiences, good morning. And welcome to the opening ceremony of International Conference on Language, Linguistics, Literature, and Education, Faculty of Arts and Education, Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia, with the theme, Promoting Digital Learning and Research Collaboration in Language, Linguistic, Literature, and Education. This event is in collaboration with Higher Education Service Region 2 of Southern Sumatra, Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology, Republic of Indonesia, and the Associations of Indonesia Private Higher Education. Ladies and gentlemen, the first programs will be the report speech by the chairpersons of the conference. To Ms. Berlinda Mandasari, MPD, you are pleased.
Okay, thank you. The Honorable, the Head of Higher Education Service of Ministries of Education, Culture, Research and Technology, LLDT Southern Sumatra Region, Professor Yuliansah, Ph.D. The Honorable Vice Rectors of Academic Affairs, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, SAMM. The Honorable Keynote Speaker, Plenary Speakers, Presenters, Participants, and all audiences. Very good morning. Firstly, let us express our gratitude to God. Because of His blessing, we can gather here in a good and healthy condition on International Conference on Language, Linguistics, Literature and Education 2021, virtually hosted by Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia in collaboration with Aptisi Region 2 and LL Region 2. Secondly, in this lovely occasion, allow me to give report for this conference. This conference covers 4 topics under the theme Promoting Digital Learning and Research Collaboration on Language, Linguistics, Literature, and Education. There are around 200 presenters participating in this conference coming from Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Bangladesh, Turkey, Philippines, Algeria, and India with more than 300 participants. This conference aims at facilitating and providing a forum for researchers, lecturers, teachers, and students in disseminating experiences, new ideas, and the result of their research on language, linguistics, literature, and education, as well as discussing issues, challenges, opportunities, and practical solutions. Thank you for participating in this conference. We also have invited keynote speakers and plenary speakers to share their thought in current issue. We invite keynote speaker Dr. Willy Renandia from Nanyang Technological University, Singapore, and 7 plenary speakers, namely Associate Professor Tan Kim Hua from University Kebangsaan Malaysia, Akhyar Rido Ph.D. from Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia, Profesor Icllle from Universitas Negeri Surabaya, Profesor Maneka Budiman from Universitas Indonesia, Heri Kurniawan Ph.D. from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, Dr. Syahrudin from Universitas Negeri Makassar, and Dr. Ervina Simatupang from Universitas Widyatama Bandung. Lastly, I would like to extend my gratitude to the team, the Committees of International Conference on Language, Linguistics, Literature, and Education 2021. Thank you so much for the hard work, dedication, and support for the smooth running of the event, starting from our first coordinating meeting until the day today. Deep appreciation also sincerely goes to the Dean of Faculty of Arts and Education and Rector of Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia for their endless supports. May this conference bring fruitful discussion for all of us and the joy meeting each other through the online platform. Happy conference and stay healthy. Thank you very much and good morning.
Thank you very much to Ms. Berlinda for the report speech. The next programs is addressee from the Vice Rectors of Academic Affairs of Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia to Dr. Haji Mahathir Muhammad. Jua, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. To the Honorable, the Head of Higher Education Service of Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, and Technology, Southern Sumatra Region, Professor Yuliansa, Ph.D., our beloved keynote speaker, Dr. Willy Renandia from Nanyang Technological University, Singapore, our plenary speakers, Professor Tan Kim Hua from University Kebangsaan Malaysia, Akhyar Rido Ph.D. from Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia, Prof. Icllle from Universitas Negeri Surabaya, Profesor Maneka Budiman from Universitas Indonesia, Heri Kurniawan Ph.D. from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, Dr. Ervina Simatupang from Universitas Widyatama Bandung, Dr. Syahrudin from Universitas Negeri Makassar. Distinguished speakers and all participants. Before I begin my opening speech, Rector of Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia, Dr. H.M. Nasrullah Yusuf SMBA, sends highest appreciations and welcome all of the keynote speakers, invited speakers, and all participants to the International Conference on Language, Linguistics, Literature, and Education. He hopes everyone here can stay healthy and, of course, enjoy the conference. Allow me to introduce briefly Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia to everyone here. Teknokrat was established since 2000s and transformed into university in 2017. Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia is located in Bandar Lampung, the capital of Lampung province, populated by around 10 million citizens. Teknokrat has approximately 7,000 students and 250 academic staff across 3 faculties: Faculty of Engineering and Computer Sciences, Faculty of Arts and Education, and Faculty of Economic and Business. Our vision is to become a leading institution with national and international recognitions, and we try our best to nurture our graduates to meet the national and global demands. Speaking about the global development, the information technology has brought about dramatic changes to the world. Because of the internet, we witness exponential growth in digital sectors and the rise of model of digital economy and education. Digital technology is rapidly developing in diverse fields, including mobile communications, robotics, artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, and of course, 3D printing. We are now entering the 4th industrial revolutions, and its impacts significantly to the way we live, work, interact, learn, and to do business. Ladies and gentlemen, to respond to this, higher education institutions should adjust and develop not only the curriculum, but also all educational practices. Teachers should adjust their teaching from a traditional face-to-face to be more modernized, supported by multimedia and digital platform. Digital learning now has become more prominent and important since we face this global COVID-19 pandemic that forces us to do social and physical distancing. Therefore, higher educations, we must be ready to establish digital learning and provide supports to its infrastructure and, of course, to the human resource development. This conference is expected to be a forum of discussions and exchange of information among teachers, students, lecturers, and us, academicians, related to these current issues in digital learning and research on language, linguistics, literature, and education. Allow me to express my highest appreciations to all my beloved 200 presenters and 300 participants originated from Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, India, Bangladesh, Turkey, and Algeria who attend this conference. We do hope these discussions of conference can enlighten us to find solutions and best practices to overcome the problems, especially in the implementations of digital learning in our institutions, and also promoting international collaborations in the field of language, linguistics, literature, and education. Hopefully, we could keep continuing to collaborate and share our knowledge to make a better development of global educations. We wish you a fruitful discussions. Stay happy and stay healthy. Have a great conference. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much to the Vice Rectors of Academic Affairs of Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia for the addressee and the support. The next program is addressee from the Honorable Head of Higher Education Service Region 2 of the Southern Sumatra, Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology, Republic of Indonesia, and officiate the conference. To Professor Yuliansyah, Ph.D., you are please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, to Honorable, my young brother, Vice Rector, Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia, Dr. Mahathir Muhammad, keynote speaker of the conference. In here, there is Dr. Willy Renaida from Nanyang Technology University, Singapore. Plenary speaker, there are 7, I think. Professor Tan Kim Hua from University Kebangsaan Indonesia, Malaysia. Akhyar Rido, Ph.D. from Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia. From Tatang Yuli Eko from Universitas Negeri Surabaya. Maneke Budiman from Universitas Indonesia. Mr. Heri Kurniawan from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. Dr. Ervina Simatupang from Universitas Widyatama Bandung. And Dr. Haji Sahrudin Saleh from Universitas Negeri Makassar. And to my honorable presenter and participant of the conference that I cannot say one by one. Thank you very much. We say for Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala that we can happily meet in good events. That is International Conference on Language, Linguistic, Literature, and Education in collaboration with Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia, LLDT Region 2, APTC Region 2B. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm on behalf of the head of Agency for Higher Education Service in Region 2, as we say as LLDT Area 2 in southern part of Sumatra, Higher Education Service Institute, which cover 4 provinces, including the province of Lampung, South Sumatra, Bengkulu, Bangka Belitung Island, to get mandate from minister to increase the quality in education. Ladies and gentlemen, as we know that lecture has a significant role as being stated in Tri Dharma Perguruan Tinggi, including teaching, doing research, and servicing a community. In order to achieve the ultimate career, lecturers should do research. With these activities, lecturers not only contribute to academic and practice knowledge, but it also help them to increase their career. One of a way to socialize the research contribution is by doing or attending a conference to sharing their finding. It is not debatable that one of the most problem for the lecturer in their career is in research. Lesser research contribution take a very long time for them to achieve their career. So this conference is one of solution for them to faster the way to boost their career. We are in LLDT 2 are very welcome to thank to Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia as host the conference. I hope we can generate positive atmosphere for lectures and higher education institute to increase both quantity and quality of research contribution. Before I close my greeting, I would like to announce that we are still have 11 conference in this year, so that all of you can join other conference and share information to others. In addition, we have many activities to increase lecture quality. So please visit LDT web and Instagram for further announcements. Lastly, by saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, International Conference on Language, Linguistics, Literature, and Education is formally open. And stay healthy and enjoy the conference. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much for Professor Juliansa, Ph.D., for the addressee and officiate the conference. Ladies and gentlemen, to get blessing by the Almighty God, let us pray. Praying led by Galang Ksatria SPD. For Galang Ksatria SPD, you are pleased.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us bow our head for a moment, pray to God Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, so that our conference today can be precious to all of us. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya dzal jalali wal ikram. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammadin fil awwalin wal akhirin wa barik wa sallim radhiyallahu ta'ala an kulli sahabati Rasulillahi ajmain. Hamda syakirin, hamdan na'imin, hamda yu'afi ni'amahu wa yukafiru mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karim wa azimi sultanik. Allahumma ighfir lana dhunubana wa liwalidina warhamhuma kama rabbayana saghira. Ya Allah, in this virtual meeting, today, Friday, August 27, 2021, we gather here to bring about an international conference on linguistics, literature, and education 2021 with the theme Promoting Digital Learning and Research Collaboration on Language, Linguistics, Literature, and Education. Ya Allah, please make this conference as a medium of sharing ideas, knowledge, and experiences for all of us. May this conference we organize today benefit to our lives, broaden our knowledge, shine our ideas, develop our potency to reach international relation, and lead us to be successful and competent person. Ya Allah, please guide and bless our hearts and our minds with the light of your guidance. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities. Help us to speak our minds clearly. Help us to listen to each other, respect each other, love each other, so that we are included to the blessed person. Ya Allah, please protect us from unintended temptation. Show us the right path and give us knowledge and strength to perform good things. Show us and make it clear the bad things and give us knowledge and strength to avoid them. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحان ربك رب العزة أما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Amin ya Robbal Alamin, and thank you very much to Galang Ksatria Tama SPD for lead the prayer. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the opening ceremony of the International Conference on Language, Linguistics, Literature, and Education, Faculty of Arts and Education, Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia, in collaboration with the Higher Education Service Region 2 of Southern Sumatra, Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology, Republic of Indonesia, and Association of Indonesia Private Higher Education. Before we close, I would like to invite all of you, keynote speakers, the Honorable Head of Higher Education Service Region 2, and also the Vice Rector of Academics to take photo session. And this photo session will be lead into a 9 time, and I will lead this session. We're going to start the first session for a photo shoot. I hope all of you, the honorable guests, and also all presenters and speakers are turning the camera on, and we take our moment for a while to take a photo. Okay, the first slide, I count 1, 2, 3. Okay, the second slide, we go 1, 2, 3. The third slide. 1, 2, 3. Hold on a moment, we have 9 slides. The fourth slide. 1, 2, 3. And then we take the 5 slide. 1, 2, 3. The 6th slide. 1, 2, 3. The 7th slide. 1, 2, 3. The 8th slide. 1, 2, 3, and the last slide. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much for all of you for joining us in the photo session. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the opening ceremony of the opening session. Let's close the opening session by saying Hamdalah.
Alhamdulillah.
And now we proceed to the plenary 1 sessions of the conference with the moderator, Dr. Heri Kuswoyo. To Dr. Heri Kuswoyo, you are pleased.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Peter. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first plenary session of International Conference on Language, Linguistics, Literature and Education 2021. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning. Let me introduce myself. My name is Heri Kuswoyo, and I'm affiliated in English Literature Study Program, Faculty of Arts and Education, and I will be serving as your moderator today. Before we begin, I have a few housekeeping notes during this session for the audiences. The first, the session will be divided into 2 sessions. The first, the presentation session, and the second, Q&A session. The second, all of audiences must turn the camera on. The third, all of audiences kindly mute the audio until the Q&A session and are allowed by the committee. And you are expected to remain calm and silent during the presentation. Next, the audience is allowed to give questions through our chat box with format name, affiliation, and question during and after the presentation. And the last, the moderator or speaker will select the question from the chat box to be answered by the speakers. Well, in this first plenary session, we have 2 speakers. The first speaker is Associate Professor Dr. Tan Kim Hua from University Kebangsaan Malaysia. Good morning, Dr. Tan Kim Hua. Please welcome.
Very good morning. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And the second speaker is Akhyar Rido, Ph.D. from Universitas Teknokrat, Indonesia. Good morning, Mr. Rido. All right. Without further ado, please welcome to our first speaker, Dr. Tan Kim Hua from University Kebangsaan Malaysia. But firstly, let me read her brief biodata. Dr. Tan Kim Hua is presently supervising postgraduate students at the Faculty of Education, University Kebangsaan Malaysia. She joined the Faculty of Creative Industries, University Tunku Abdul Rahman, as young professor in May 2021. She previously helped 3L Language, Linguistics, Literature, the Southeast Asian Journal of English Language Studies as the editor-in-chief at UKM, and during her tenureship. She is the recipient of 3 CRIM Awards for the Best Scopus Journal in Malaysia from 2017 to 2019. She worked on electronic lexicography for her dissertation, and the methodology is blend of corpus linguistics educational psychology, and creative multimedia. Her most recent publication in SSCI Index Journal in Sage Open is The Geopolitical Factor in the Syrian Civil War, a corpus-based thematic analysis. Well, in this discussion, in this session, she will talk about the paper entitled The Briefing in Virtual Classroom, a critical review. All right, everyone, without further ado, please welcome Dr. Tan Kim Hua. Dr. Tan Kim Hua, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Heri, for the kind introduction. We just wait for the slides. Okay, right. First slide, please. Okay, thank you. Good morning, Indonesia.
Morning.
Salam sejahtera. Salam sejahtera from Malaysia. Now, for my session, we'll be looking at an activity that's often overlooked in the language classroom, that is debriefing. And this is the title of my presentation, is Debriefing in Virtual Classrooms, a critical review. Next slide, please. This will be the outline of my presentation. I'll be looking at elements and structure of debriefing. I'll be describing the process of debriefing using the debrief model. And more importantly, looking at virtual debriefings, its challenges and how we can overcome the challenges. Next. Now, what is debriefing actually? It's a session within the learning activity. It is a facilitated and guided reflection in the cycle of learning. And it is important. It's actually the cornerstone of experiential or active learning, something that we are familiar with in terms theoretically, but application, I'm doubtful in the language classroom based on past research. Real learning really only takes place, in fact, most real learning takes place in the debrief session. Next. So the question is, if you want to reflect on this on your own teaching practices, do we debrief in our language classrooms? Example, in EFL, ESL classrooms. Do we construct the lesson and then deconstruct a lesson so that we can make sense or understand what our students are going through? So some reflection on this before we begin. Next slide, please. Now, normally there are three phases in debriefing. The first phase is what we call the introductory or description phase. This is where we identify the impact of the experience. We consider the process that develop, clarify concepts, facts, and principles. Phase 2 is what we call the analysis phase. And in this phase, we identify ways emotions are involved. We look at different views and how they correlate with the whole picture. And we also identify reasoning. And finally, phase 3 is the application stage. This is the generalization and application phase where we identify the application of the new knowledge or skill. Next, please. Okay, there are actually many debriefing models, usually in the sciences, health sciences, medical fields, nursing. We'll just look at, such as on the screen. If you look at on the screen, that's the Calgary, Cambridge, Petronet, Leatherman. Advocacy inquiry is also relevant to the language classroom. Gather, analyze, summarize, Thatcher, and Robinson, and lots of other models. We will be looking at the debrief model of the same name. Next, please. Now, this is the debrief model technique. Next, please. Now, the debrief, DEBRIEF, is actually the acronym for debrief. We'll look at it one at a time and also look at scripted phrases that we can use within each stage. So if you look at this, D stands for delineating the learning outcomes, E evaluating what went well, B is banish emotions, R is reviewing the experience, I is in-depth discussion, E explaining the key points, it's optional stage, and future use. Next, please. I hope I'm not going too fast. Not sure how long it will take. Now D, delineate the learning objectives. That's the first stage when you are debriefing. So in this stage, you restate clearly the learning objectives for the discussion because you've already done the class. This is recapitulation. Usually we have 2 or 3 objectives per session. So the formulated questions can be something like this. In this session, we had discussed, okay, or the learning issue for this session is we had covered. So these scripted phrases can be incorporated in your teaching. So you have a list of formulate phrases. Next, please. E of debrief refers to evaluating what went well in your language classroom. Just 1 second, let me just close this. Okay. Now in this stage, evaluating, we recall and evaluate the experience. The aim is to recollect the experience that especially went well. Of course, you can also look at things that did not go well. But the emphasis here will be on what went well, and it can involve the whole event or just a particular activity we want to highlight. This can be done by 1 person or more, the whole team. We can identify how much of the activity or experience that had influenced the learners. And in other words, or we can look at the cues. Okay, in this stage, we look at the cues or scripted phrases, such as, can you tell us what had just happened? You know, we talk to the learners. Would you like to share the events that you had just gone through? Would you like to tell us how you thought you had performed? So it's a lot of reflection on the part of the participants, or in our case, language classroom, it will be our students and our learners. Next, please. Now, we must be of debriefing. We must always banish emotions that cloud judgment. There's a lot of lack of psychological safety in especially online debriefing. So we have to diffuse that, and we attend to the feelings first, let them ventilate. How do you feel now? For instance, just by asking that will ease the situation. Now, sometimes learners can narrate their personal experience. This usually helps learners who have trouble speaking. Next, please. R of debrief refers to review of the experience the learner has just gone through. We understand, we want to know the learner's knowledge and understanding of the experience, the what, the how, the when, and the why. And we also want to understand learner's point of view and the reason for his or her action or inaction. Okay, why? Now the scripted phrases for R of debrief can be something like this. In this scenario, what was your objective? Based on what principles were decision to? Can you explain to us how you performed? When will you usually use? I noticed you did this. Can you share with us why you had done that? So a lot of reaction from the learners. That's the ultimate aim. Next, please. In-depth discussion, the I of debrief. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. Now, the aim here is to explore. We explore deeper into learners' understanding of the topic or issue. This stage is the higher thinking ability. We explore critical or innovative thinking. Now, questions that are geared towards hypothetical situations suitable here. So some of the formulate phrases can be, what if? You can ask your students, let's say, what would you do and why? Don't you think it should be? Can you explain? Okay, so these are typical phrases that you can use in this I of debrief. And E will be explanation of key points. This stage is optional. When certain aspects of the topic, concepts or issue related to the scenario is not clear. So you must keep it short. Do not turn it into a mini lecture because you've already done your lesson. This is just a recap, only done if learners are having problems or had not grasped the main aspect of the discussion. So this phase can be omitted if all the learning outcomes has already been achieved and there's no problems understanding the content. So finally, F of a debrief. Next slide, please. Is for future use. Okay, now the aim is to explore how the learner will apply, okay, in this stage, or use this new knowledge that they have garnered, the skill in the future. Learners should be able to show generalization and relate to its application. For instance, some of the scripted phrases can be, what have you learned? What are you taking home today? How are you going to use what you've learned today 5 years from now, for instance? What aspects of skills is beneficial to you and why? Do you think the things you learned today is going to influence your future decisions, and in what way? Okay, so we are done with the debrief model, and it is applicable in most contexts, even in the language classroom. Next slide, please. Now, what we are just going to scan through some of the debriefing studies that I have gone through. Next slide, please. So this is a summary of the elements of the 60 studies that are debriefing. We start with debriefing operator and then followed by debriefing time and tools used in debriefing. So out of, in fact, I did about 90 studies, but I'm just, because of the limitation of slides, so I'm presenting about 60. And only 2 studies are found to be conducted in the language classroom. So that we don't do much debriefing in the language classroom. Either there's a lack of research in the language classroom, or we hardly debrief in the language classroom. So it's something to reflect on as an educator. Now, the debriefing operator based on past studies, we have this self-debriefing in a group, peer debriefing, virtual debriefing, instructor-led debriefing, in-person debriefing. Next, please. And the debriefing time is usually in-session debriefing or post-session debriefing. In-session will be at critical points where the educator wants to stop and check on the learners by asking questions that they have to reflect on their experiences. Post-session will be after the whole learning activity at the end of the class. Next, please. Now, the tools based on the 60 past studies, I realized that they are mostly in the sciences. But recently we have we found about the last 2 years, we found about 6 studies in the language classroom. Very few, but we are picking up the language classroom. The arts are picking up from the sciences. Now, if you look at the tools used in debriefing in the past studies, they are what we call the structured debriefing format. These are context specific, and they use special tools. So they have creative names attached to it. Unstructured will be the generalized version, like we have written debriefing, we have oral debriefing, which is done in the language classroom recently, something that cropped up recently. And all these names will only make sense if you look at the context of the research. Next, please. Okay, there are more to it. We have things like Sunday afternoon drive. Debriefing is done a lot also in the creation of games, simulation. That's why they have all these names that are context specific. Next, please. Now, the next few slides is just a summary of all the studies. So we'll just run through the slides. I think there are about 6 of it. If you look at the slides, we have what we call the debriefing operator. These are elements, debriefing time, and tools used in debriefing. Next, please. Okay, next. We will not go through this one at a time. Next, please. Another slide. Now, if you look at the analysis, out of the 60 selected studies, 30 studies conducted self-debriefing. So it's a lot. So people are fond of self-debriefing. 6 studies on peer debriefings, 17 on group debriefings, 6 on operator-instructor-led debriefing, 4 on virtual debriefing. That's good. It's cropping up the last 2 years because of the pandemic. And 4 studies utilize the in-person debriefing. Next, please. Okay, those are more studies. Next. Next. And next. Until the end of this table. Next, please. Okay, let's stop at that. Now, out of the 60 selected studies, 4 are on virtual debriefings, like I told you. Specifically on virtual debriefing, 2 debriefings are used in a language classroom, and those are not virtual debriefings. The latest literature is I found about 6 debriefings in language classrooms. So there's a literature gap in this area of research and room for exploration for further research. Next, please. Now, whether the studies are, the debriefing activities are structured or unstructured, they all have similar goals. Okay, all debriefing sessions will have these goals. That is, or that are closing the gap between the experience student went through and making sense of it, stimulating self-reflection, what did the learners experience and learn. Sometimes we look at sharing of ideas and raise awareness of alternative approaches during the debriefing session. And the goal or the aim is also to induce behavior change. In other words, how can that apply to their future decision-making or studies? Next, please. Now, let's move on to virtual debriefing. I will also run through the slides. Next, please. Now, I would like to introduce you to what we call the CALL framework. CALL stands for COL, stands for Communities of Inquiry Framework by Cheng, 2020. Now, because since the pandemic started, virtual debriefing is also current and useful. And so this framework, next please, let's look at the framework. Oh, okay. All right, the framework is a useful conceptual structure to organize practical guidance for conducting virtual debriefings. Now, if you look at the framework, next please, let's get to the diagram. It's easier, okay. Now, this is a very useful Venn diagram, okay. It's there are 3 important elements that you should be concerned with in virtual debriefing. That is the social presence, all right. The cognitive presence and the educator presence, okay? And this diagram actually depicts the interrelatedness of the 3 core components. There is a social presence, cognitive presence, and educator presence in virtual debriefing sessions that contribute to effective debriefing. Next, please. Okay. While educators can often rely on their in-person debriefing skills before we went virtual because of the pandemic, some challenges will require seldom used strategies to promote virtual debriefing or virtual learning. The 3 elements, social presence, refers to the importance of interpersonal connections amongst learners. Educator presence, next please. Okay, emphasizes key role of educator in structuring discussion. Cognitive presence highlights how reflective discourse is central to learning during debriefing. This refers to the diagram. Okay, online is a bit difficult to coordinate, I'm sorry. Okay, Now we move into the challenges that we face as educators and as learners when we are doing virtual debriefing. Now we have what we call challenges to psychological safety. Okay, when computer interfaces does not support much of non-verbal cues, such as body language, facial expressions, and eye contact. And we need this from our educator, from our lecturers, our teachers, for validation and empathy. So this is lacking in online debriefing. So in difficult debriefing situation, when learners are upset, for instance, educators might not react to it because they can't see their students' non-verbal cues. Body language is missing. You only see the head, probably. Other face, sorry. Okay, next please. Now, another challenge will be perceived lack of privacy. Sometimes you see uninvited visitors enter and leave the screen of other learners. So the learners may perceive a lack of privacy that prevents them from sharing thoughts or emotions freely. So managing interruptions in in-person debriefing is usually on the shoulders of the educators. But when it's virtual, there is a shared responsibility amongst all debriefing participants. Next challenge. Okay, poor video transmission. This goes without saying. I think everybody will agree to this. If it's poor video transmission, it impedes everyone's ability to read facial expressions. And if it's poor audio quality, this will influence how participants respond to comments and questions. Further, the inability to screen share might limit real-time display of key resources. And educators and lecturers or teachers who are unfamiliar with the grid view feature cannot see all participants at one time. This limits discussion. Next, please. What about the mental workload? For instance, for me, when I wanted to get into this conference, there's additional cognitive workload. Okay, and likewise in debriefing, when an educator's mental workload exceeds cognitive capacity, now it's not just about the content. We have to deal with technical difficulties, for instance. It represents unnecessary work that requires mental processing, but does not contribute directly to participant learning. Next, please. And learners are equally burdened. Their cognitive presence is threatened because of the lack of familiarity with rules of engagement online or technical aspects of online. It affects everyone. We have excess learner cognitive load in virtual debriefing because synchronous online learning is not intuitive to all. Okay, as many learners have difficulty engaging with others during an online discussion. So this needs to be addressed. Next challenge, next please. Learners' engagement. This is a new social context, virtual debriefing. We have to teach our learners how to engage in this new social context. For instance, multiple individuals will be speaking at once if they are not, if there's no orientation phase, and interruptions happen. But in this conference, we have a background, so this is not an issue. Like in a home environment, when a child can disrupt a discussion, or the learners will perform concurrent tasks during debriefing, such as searching for content or checking emails. Next challenge. Now, how can we overcome this? I'll just go through some of the steps of overcoming challenges of virtual debriefing. Next, please. Now, we can create psychological safety, the ambience of psychological safety by being present as an educator. How can we tell the learners that it is safe? By arriving early as an educator, being available for questions anytime, be kind, you have to smile and you have to nod and you have to be welcoming. How do we welcome? We use casual communication to encourage learners. and remaining attentive and interested. Example, having your eyes on the screen. So this creates psychological safety for the learners. Next, please. Next challenge, we can, this is common sense. We should express appreciation and promote inclusivity. Example, scripted phrases. Thank you for joining this group effort. Also by using inclusive pronouns to refer to the group. Let us talk about, we use us, inclusivity rather than I want to talk to you about. Okay, next please. Another way of overcoming, utilize explicit communication strategies. We address participants or learners or our students by name, referring explicitly to others' messages. We paraphrase and we ask questions. But the stage is for the learners in the debriefing, in virtual debriefings. Ensure that all learners have their preferred name displayed on screen to facilitate its use. The preferred name doesn't have to be their real name because they are your students, so you know who they are. Next, technical strategies. This is also adds on to the cognitive load. We have to optimize educator visibility on video. Okay, maybe use a green screen. For instance, if you look at I forgot to set up my green screen today, so there are a lot of distortion to the visibility. You have to test the sound quality ahead of time. Use the grid view so they can see everyone, almost everyone. Use the checkbox feature for those who are camera shy, so they can type in the checkbox, or conduct an educator rehearsal or training session before you start the virtual debriefing. Next, please. Some strategies, you can co-facilitate with a second educator. One can be a technical educator. The other educator or lecturer or teachers will just facilitate the discussion. So you take the cognitive load off the content educator. Of course, you can apply all the in-person debriefing frameworks and conversational techniques as well online. Example, you provide scripted phrases to trigger reflection and discussion, as we have discussed in the debrief model. Next, please.
I'm so sorry, Dr. Tan.
Yeah. Yes.
5 more minutes.
5 more minutes. Okay, I'll just run through the slides. Orientation is important. For instance, if you tell the learners how to mute and share expectations in advance, okay, these are commonsensical collaborative environment. Next slide, please. The next, how to overcome challenges. We communicate rules of engagement. Example, the online, they can raise hand, use the raise hand feature to indicate a desire to speak, or muting microphone when not actively contributing, and also establish an expectation of turn taking right at the beginning. Next, please. Now we reduce learner cognitive load by using whiteboard or screen sharing. And learners should refrain from activities not directly related to the discussion. That means don't check emails. This should be conveyed to the authors, to the learners, communicated to the learners before you start the virtual debriefing session. Next, please. Now, as in this conference for virtual debriefing, you can also use online breakout rooms, because online breakout rooms enable smaller group breakout sessions, okay, to enhance cognitive engagement and active discussion. Next, please. So in conclusion, some ways, all forms of debriefing are beneficial, whether it's in-person or virtual, and in all disciplines, especially in the language classroom. We have to look into this, or in the sciences, in nursing. Now, students, based on past studies, there's an increase in performance evaluations and participants' self-perception of capability for those who have gone through a debriefing session. Next, please. Debrief, I would suggest that debriefing time be consciously included in the course plan. And debriefing skills should also include technical skills for educators in teacher training or educator training. Debriefing should most of all be carried out in the language classrooms. Is lacking. It's usually used in health sciences and medical fields. Next, please. So as a virtual debriefer, you are the facilitator, evaluator, coach, encourager, model counselor, the technical moderator, and a critical friend. It is no doubt a daunting role, but it's achievable with teacher training. Next, please. Okay, with that, I end my presentation. These are my contact details. I am interested to collaborate in terms of publication and research projects. Thank you. The rest are just, the next slides are just references. Okay. Thank you for bearing with me. I tried to pace my presentation, but looks like it's hard to gauge the time. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Tan. All right, everyone, that was the presentation from Dr. Tan Kim Hua, and thank you very much for the great presentation. But before we proceed to the next speaker, I would like to inform and remind you for all participants that you can write, you can write question in the chat box in our platform in the Zoom meeting, and we are going to read after the presentation. All right, everyone, and now let's proceed to the second speaker. Please welcome Mr. Akhyar Rido, Ph.D., but please allow me to read his brief biodata first. Akhyar Rido, Ph.D. is an associate professor of applied linguistics at the English department and the dean of Faculty of Art and Education, Universitas Teknokrat, Indonesia. He is a PhD holder in the area classroom discourse and the second language acquisition and learning from School of Language Studies and Linguistics, the National University of Malaysia. His most recent publication are Interaction and Pedagogy of Indonesia, Indonesian Vocational English Language Master Teachers in 2020, published by University Kebangsaan Malaysia Press with Prof. Noraini Ibrahim and Prof. Rada MK Nambiar. And then the second, Schematic Structure and Lexicogrammatical Features of Aerospace Engineering English Lecture, a Systemic Functional Linguistic Approach in the same year, in 2020, ASEAN EFL Journal. And the last, let's take a look at an investigation of directive as negotiating interpersonal meaning in engineering lectures in 2021 and published in Pertanika Journal of Social Sciences and Humanities with Dr. Heri Kuswoyo, Prof. Eva Tukitasari, Dr. Lia Maulia Indrayani, and Dr. Doris McDonald. And today, he will talk about maximizing a three-way interaction using technology in language and literature classroom during disruption COVID era. To Mr. Akhyar Rido, Ph.D., you are, please.
Thank you, Dr. Heri. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, please allow me to share my slide. Okay. All right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to my presentation and to these sessions of conference. Before I start, I would like to greet my professor, my teacher, Dr. Tan Kim Hua. Hello, Dr. Tan. Are you still there? Actually, Dr. Tan was my professor when I was doing my master's 14 years ago. So I'm so happy to see her in the same session as me today, this morning. So my presentation will be about maximizing a three-way interaction using technology in language and literature classrooms during disruption COVID era. So let me start. This is the outline of my presentation. So I will start with introduction and transitions of learning, especially experienced by us from the Faculty of Arts and Education to Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia. Secondly, I will talk about maximizing a three-way interactions. I will present you and show you the concept of three-way interaction. And the third part will be a three-way interaction and proposed practice. So this is what we have done in our faculty. So I hope that this will relate to your experience in your respective institution. And lastly, I will be very glad to discuss what I have presented with everybody here in this conference. So before I start, let me tell you that our faculty is pretty young. It's actually our 4th year this year, 2021. So we have 908 students in our faculty and 31 faculty members. And we have 4 programs, which is literature, English education, sport education, and mathematics education. So with this number of students and faculty members and 4 programs, so we offered more than 200 courses online, actually. So we have 200 courses online that we offered for our students and for students from other universities as well. So since last year, we opened it for students from other universities. Just to let you know that actually, because of the implementations of technology in every aspects of our activities in our university and faculty, we got an award from Compass Gramedia. If you know, Compass Gramedia is one of biggest publishing companies and newspapers in Indonesia. So we received this award last year. Okay, if I can divide our transitions of learning in our faculty and our university, this is our transition. So we formed our faculty in 2017, and from 2017 until 2019, so the teaching and learning in our faculty was done in, in general, in 2 ways, teaching, lectures, and practicum, For teaching and learning, we already designed 20% of our total course, was done online, 20%. Meanwhile, the 80% blended. Blended means that we conducted the 20% of the meetings through the online mode, and then 80% face-to-face. Meanwhile, for practicum, it was 100% face-to-face. All right. However, when we entered more what we call as disruption COVID era, early 2020, I could still recall it was in March when the government of Indonesia decided to, Jakarta first, lockdown, in March, like 21st of March, 2020. So it's followed by the central government which require all of the classrooms closed and started online learning. So from 2020, March or April, we started full online for teaching and practicum, so 100% online. All right, so this is our class, before COVID entered Indonesia, especially Bandar Lampung. So full of interaction. We love to meet our students, doing presentations in the class. All right, so we also conducted a lot of seminars and workshops almost every week. This is our daily basis activities. And even, 1 week or before the lockdown, by the government, we visited University of Indonesia, Universitas Gadjah Mada, Universitas Negeri Jakarta for collaborations, for teaching learning collaboration, for research collaboration, for credit transfer program. So we wanted to collaborate as much as possible with other institutions, with people outside there, so we can learn a lot from them and they can learn a lot from us as well. So that was actually what we wanted, our vision, our mission, before the disruption COVID. However, because of the instruction from the government, we have to close our classrooms and started conducting online. So this is the situation of our faculty. This is the buildings of the Faculty of Arts and Education first day lockdown, by the government. So I went around the campus building and took pictures, and I was very, very sad at the time because we had to start the class online. So to anticipate, before the government lock down the country, and the province as well. So this is the questions that was in our mind. Yeah, what do we have actually? So to support this online learning. So what can we do with our resources, what we have? Yeah. And what are the potential barriers for this 100% online learning and practicum? And how can we use multiple ways to engage our students with learning materials, lectures, and other students? So I think the same question was also in the same mind, of every teacher and lecturers who are attending this conference this morning. So we also consider this, how, let's say, if we had to conduct online class, so it should be, or it must be intentional. Yeah, it cannot be random, for example. It has to be well designed and learning outcome focused. And what we wanted was weekly opportunities for students, to interact, with the lecturers, with other students, weekly basis. So this is what we imagined. We wanted our students to experience, as close as possible, this online learning with in-person interaction. So that was in our mind. So go back to the question, what do we have, what we can do? So at that time, we list what we have here. This is what we have. That's why I say we want to maximize a three-way interaction. We want to maximize what we have. So what we have at that time. So we have the university on open online course, or SPADA Teknokrat. So we have this already. So we had actually established this online system long before the COVID, actually. And we already use this, but only 20% of all of the courses offered done by through the system. So we have the university YouTube channel. We already have our university YouTube channel. And Zoom, the faculty and university Zoom or video conference facilities. We also have our library, the OPAC, the e-journal, and we have JIM, Jurnal Ilmiah Mahasiswa, or our students' journal. So that's the thing that we want to maximize at that time. That's our sources. This is our online system, the university online system, and this is our YouTube channel. You can search Kuliah Teknokrat and you can find hundreds. I think now we started to have thousands of videos of learning, by the lecturers themselves. And this is our production studio. So the university really care with the needs of the students and the lecturers as well. Even though we had we must have schedules of recording our video, lecture video, so then it could be uploaded to the YouTube channels, Kuliah Teknokrat, and then can be watched and accessed by our students, even publics. We also established this podcast studio. So it was a medium for students to interact with other students, to connect with students as viewers as well. So we have this. This is the Zoom. Everybody knows Zoom. So now we frequently use Zoom, especially here in Indonesia, for lecture. And this is our university OPAC, e-journal and JIM system. So we already have this. So this is the thing that we already modeled. So we model how we maximize those platforms that we have. So here is the scenario. So in the middle, you look at learning platforms. So we have these learning platforms. And what we want is multiple interactions, how students could access the lecturer, how students could interact with their friends, and how students could interact also with learning materials or the content, both synchronously and asynchronously. So that's the thing that I want to bring to everybody here as proposed practice. So this could be same scenario that you have implemented, but let us see one by one. So first, I would like to talk about student lecture or teacher interaction. So I've observed, in our faculty, what is the most common interaction or way of interactions or activities in our faculty by our faculty members. Number one, for student lecturer interaction, there are two platforms. First is synchronous and second is asynchronous. So it's facilitated by these two. Synchronous, all lecturers made use of the video conference. So we use our university faculty or even personal IDs to conduct these sessions. What happened during video conference? So the faculty members gave lecture, conducted discussion and presentation in the class or mediated by this video conference. And second one, for asynchronous, we use our learning management system or SPADA that I have mentioned before. So most of the lecturers for student lecture interaction, what they give to the student was structured assignment, independent project. So through the system, the lecturer put the project in the system for the students, and students could conduct this or did the project with the supervisions and the guideline and the helps of the lecturers. So it was a pretty intensive interaction between the lecturer and the students via these activities, structured assignment and independent project. And at the end, students could come out with some of their works published. So I will later tell you about the works of the students that was successfully published. So this is the from my class actually. This is what I did when I gave a lecture or a tutorial session to my students. So it was mediated by either Zoom or Google Meet. There are two channel that I use. And second, this is the discussion also. The discussion was mediated by the video conference through the Zoom as well. And this is the students' presentation. So I think it was very interesting for them to present, using technology, and with the video conference. So they could create that kind of slides next to them, which was pretty amazing. So they were very creative doing this. And they also bring their own, this is about book review presentation. So students could do this pretty well because I think they are Z generations. They are very agile and they're digital natives. So that's their initiative to add on more, technological things into their presentation. And this is the LMS, or SPADA that we use to give structured assignment and independent project to our students. So if you look at this is my class last semester. This is seminar on linguistics when the student had to, write a paper on linguistics fields that they're interested and they plan to propose for their thesis. And this is a scientific presentation where the students present a paper, or they have to write a paper first, review papers and present books, both fiction and non-fiction. So basically they have to write this the paper and book review through the system, and lecturers give comments, give critical review on what they have done. So until they could get what we call as a proper review results, paper that is free from plagiarism, for example, even until we check the plagiarisms of the paper. Secondly, so after lecture student interaction, we also focus on student content interactions. This is very important. We want our students to be an independent learner. We want them to be productive. We want them to have this initiative, especially during these disruptions, COVID era. So this is what have been done by our lecturers in our faculty. First, so here we have 3 channels, yeah, of student content interactions, and all the channels are asynchronous. Yeah, first, we make use of our Teknokrat YouTube channel. So we have this. So what was done by the students? So the students will watch the videos, yeah, by the lecturers. So initially, in the beginning of the COVID, we mix, yeah, between the video of other people, yeah, other lecturers, other experts in the fields, yeah, we share with the students. But starting like 2-3 months after that, we wanted that our lecturers produce the video by themselves. So we have these schedules of recording, yeah, but by obeying the health protocols, yeah, of course we pay attention to that. One by one, the lecturers came to the studio and recorded their sessions, yeah. So by this, students can watch the video, repeat it, yeah, repeat the video until they comprehend the materials at hand. They also can download the video and store it in their database. So basically, this is quite practical, and they can carry, yeah, physically carry the materials and watch it everywhere. Yeah, when they are laying on the bed, when they are talking with their friends, yeah, when they are in their free times, yeah, they can watch the video. Secondly, we have in our LMS or our SPADA system, we upload our ebooks, yeah, and presentation slides. Normally, when we give lecture and tutorials, we have our presentation slides. So the presentation was not shared, yeah, in the or during the video conference, but was shared through the LMS or SPADA system. Normally, we posted the ebooks or the slides first before we conducted the lecture, so students could access that and read and prepare before attending the session. Yeah, and the last one, we have Teknokrat OPEC, GYM and e-journal, where students can access also ebooks, yeah, from the library, the university library, and journals, yeah, as well as conference proceedings, thesis, yeah, magazines, they could access through the system. Okay, so this is my video presentations, yeah, that I use. So you can search, yeah, Kuliah Teknokrat. Maybe if you want to type my name, so my video will appear. Or maybe if you're interested in some fields, for example, research methodology, you can type my name and then also research methodology. Or if you want to see watch videos across disciplines, for example, you want to see how research methodology in language linguistics classrooms, in engineering, in Faculty of Economics and Business, we have also that. So you can type Kuliah Teknokrat research methodology. So they will appear on your screen, research methodology across fields, yeah, the videos, and you can make use of it. So these videos were delivered in 2 different languages, Bahasa Indonesia and English. So you can enjoy the video in whatever language that you're comfortable. And this is the medium for me, yeah, the channels pada Teknokrat, that all the lecturers posted their presentation slide, their ebooks, yeah, that the students can download, yeah, or they can just read for the purpose of their personal development, yeah, their personal learning, okay, or independent learning. And this is the OPEC of the university, and this is our journal, yeah. Principally in English department, we have 2 journals. First is Technosastic. This is a national accredited journal. And second one is Students' Journal, actually Linguistics and Literature Journal. So ladies and gentlemen, Bapak Ibu dosen, yeah, if you have students, yeah, in your faculty or your department, yeah, English or mathematics or sport, we have this journal that can accommodate their works and publication. So you may send, we receive, yeah, articles from outside of the university. So the publication, so we publish twice a year for each of the journal. Okay. So the third way, yeah, is student-student interaction. So similar to lecturer-student interaction. So student-student interaction was also mediated synchronously and asynchronously. So two platforms of learning, yeah, through video conference and through LMS or SPADA. So through video conference, students interact with each other, yeah, through presentation, discussion, and group work. Meanwhile, through LMS SPADA, we have this forum and peer correction activities. So students do this, yeah, and they interact with each other through these platforms. So if I could show you, this is synchronous presentation. Yeah, a student had to present on a topic, yeah, that they can choose by themselves. So impact of technology on the perceptions of culture shock, for example. So this is academic presentation class where we discuss SDGs, yeah, some issues in SDGs, and we ask the students to review some of journal articles that they're interested in, and they have to relate it with their study, yeah. So they can choose technology in relation to language, literature, and culture, for example. They can pick a topic which is related to linguistics, for example, or related to education, technology and education, something like that. All right. So this is student-student interaction through group work. So sometimes we divide our students to discuss together via video conference like this on some of the projects that they would like to do, or personal project that they have to do, or that something that they want to present, and get feedback from their friends directly through this video conference, yeah, verbal feedback. And this is the student-student interactions, like I mentioned before. This is one of the example of peer correction, yeah, peer correction among students, yeah, that they had to submit their first draft of paper, and other students gave comments. So normally we gave some of the guidelines that they have to give comments on both content and language, yeah, of the draft, for example, and the comment must be constructive, for example. And then the third one is the comment must consist of 200 until 300 words, for example, because you know, in literature and language department, we in some subjects, yeah, like literary criticism, yeah, in prose, in drama, they have to write critical reviews, yeah, they have to criticize some of the existing works, yeah, by other writers, for example. They have to write book review, or they have to compose short story. So there are a lot of things that they can discuss here through this SPADA platform. Now, this is supplementary activities. That was a three-way that was required, yeah, for all faculty members in the faculty, yeah, that they have to do, yeah, to the students. However, each program could have some more initiative to expose students to, you know, the world outside of the classroom and relate it with what they are studying. Yeah. So this is what happened in English and like English language and literature department. So this is regular talks, yeah, done by the department, alumni and industry talks. So this alumni on the left side, yeah, of the screen, to share about his experience working with a multinational company, yeah, in Indonesia. And on the right side, that's from Gramedia, yeah, who shared about copywriting, publications, yeah, jobs in language and literature fields, yeah, for example. So he shared these stories, yeah, and then motivated our students, yeah, for the sake of their future career. Okay. And this is seminars and webinars. So this is a common thing in our faculty. We conduct a monthly seminar. So every faculty member has to present their result of research or the publication in front of their students and other faculty members, monthly basis. So this is on the left, the poster that we shared with our faculty members and students. And on the right side, we also collaborated with other universities. So last year we conducted with Universitas Harapan Bangsa in Central Java. So they invited us to collaborate in their international webinar, which was very good for our students and for our faculty members. So they can attend this conference or present or like this conference also. So we encourage our faculty members to to assist our students if they're interested to present in this conference, so they may do so. So it's highly encouraged. Okay. And our university had this mission also. So when we already run that teaching and learning processes through that way of interaction, so the university launched a program which is social services during a pandemic. So our rector, and the foundation wanted everybody in the university, in the faculty members and students contribute to society during COVID. So the foundation and the university launched social services fundings, to help schools, in our area, in Bandar Lampung and other regions. So we visit the schools. We want to hear from the school principals and the teachers what their needs, the needs to help them to in these transitions of pandemic, of this disruption era, what they need, so to help them with the teaching and learning at school, and then with the students also. So until now we have around 60 partner schools, that we help, and now we are still running the program. So at that time, in this August and September, our students, 70 students in our faculty, are now in 17 different schools, helping the teachers and the schools for 2 months, under the program of Indonesia Mengajar, and it's also supported by Ministry of PMK, Human Resources and Culture, to help schools, teachers and students in our area. And the last one for the supplementary activities is researches and publications. The university also launched these research fundings during this COVID. It's a special research funding for COVID. Wanted faculty members to involve students, to be more active from home. So we established groups of research with the students and publish our works. I'm almost finished. All right. So at the end of the semester, so after two semesters of observations, this is what we had. It's very surprising, especially for me as the Dean of Faculty of Arts and Education, that how productive our students during this transition, during this pandemic era. That if you see on your screen the statistics, most of our students pass the courses, and publish their works. So we encourage students to publish their works. So if you look at this, for only 2 semesters, tightly supervised by the lecturers, so our students published 25 articles in language and literature department only, all right? 25 articles in national journals, 8 articles in national accredited journals, 7 book reviews, short stories and poems in local newspapers, 11 book reviews, short stories and poems in national newspapers, and 3 poetry anthology. So this is what our faculty members and students have done. And I think as the Dean of Faculty of Art and Education, it worked for us. Yeah, and another thing that I would like to share to you also that is not on the screen is what you may be thinking that that's your successful story. What about your unsuccessful story? So there was, yeah, unsuccessful story. Actually, we tried, yeah, also to uh, give more option or channel for lecturers and students to engage, yeah, which is through blogs, yeah, blogs, yeah. So we wanted students to create a blog and lecturer create a blog. So they have a channel, yeah, to express themselves, to store their works there. But it seems like it could be multitasking, yeah, for faculty members and students, but it could be not that too much multitasking. So that's our limitations until now. Maybe blogs are successful in other university or faculty, but it was not that successful in our faculty. So only few students were interested in blogs. Only few lecturers were also active, yeah, bloggings, yeah. So I think because maybe it is related to personal interest, yeah, not so many people are into that kind of blogging. So we are still evaluating whether we want to continue with this or not. So with that, yeah, with
I'm
that,
so sorry. I'm so sorry, sir, for interrupting. 5 more minutes. Thank you.
okay. I will finish this in 2 minutes. So to conclude my presentation, so by maximizing a three-way interaction using technology, maximizing what we have. So students have more learning platforms where they can interact with their lecturers, other students, and learning materials, even society outside of the campus. So during this pandemic, they could contribute and help schools, yeah, teachers, and society around us. Okay, even though just a little of helps, but we hope that students can get more, build their sympathy, yeah, empathy with the situation, and in the same time, implement, yeah, what they have learned at school, yeah, in the university. So uh, based on my observations, also students successfully complete their courses. So I could say that more than 80% complete their courses, and many of them publish their projects, their articles, book reviews, poem, and short stories in national journals and newspaper, which is an added value for them. And of course, as a faculty member, we give them also full marks, yeah, for that. We give them extra bonus, yeah, as for their final score, yeah. And as faculty member in Faculty of Arts and Education, I also suggest that language and literature faculty or relevant stakeholders could use this three-way of interaction, could maximize this three-way interaction. So in every week, there must be three. How we could engage students with us as the teacher or lecturer, how students could engage with their friends, and how students could engage with the content, yeah, or learning material. So with that, we believe that it could foster students' engagement and make learning more productive. I end my presentation. Good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All right, thank you very much, sir, for the excellent presentation. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, now we are at the Q&A session of the first plenary session of the Conference on Language, Linguistics, Literature, and Education. I would like to invite the audiences to give question to the speakers. The question could deliver directly through our chat column with format mention your name, your affiliation, and question. But it seems that we have some question from the chat box. All right, I would like to read the question from the first from Adan Holis from Nahdlatul Ulama University of Yogyakarta. And the question addressed to Dr. Tan Kim Hua. There are two questions here. The first, what modes or communication can be used in this model of the briefing, synchronous, asynchronous, or combining both? And the second, doctor, how to make students engage in effective online learning using this model? Thank you.
Okay. The question is about the debrief model. To me, I think all the stages can be used in the language classroom for debriefing. Debriefing essentially encourages reflective thinking. Therefore, I think in the language classroom, we should have a special session. Based on my experience, even my own practice in virtual classrooms, what I did was I usually brief the students on the outline of the class. And towards the end, what I do is I recapitulate. So it's like instructor-led kind of session all the time. So in the language classroom, because most learners and educators are technologically challenged. Therefore, I think that should be a technical orientation to it. And a special session, maybe put 5 or 10 minutes based on the learning outcomes of the class. You can have it in session or post session. And if possible, and if it's permitted, have a co-technical educator so that it takes away the cognitive load. And in the language classroom, not only language classrooms, in all classrooms, I think learners would like validation and approval. So virtually, we can do it. We must think about how to do it during the debriefing session, because we want a sharing session, not a lecture session. I would suggest that in the language classroom, there's not much literature on this, to start with oral debriefing, followed by written debriefing, self-debriefing. So the learners are also allowed to write down how they feel about the class. And maybe when they are ready, we can put this as part of the assessment so that there'll be responses from the learners. Because most of the time they do not respond virtually, they can hide behind the camera. So if we put it as a part of the assessment, but after some time of training, we might get a lot of responses from students to share their experiences. I hope that answers your question.
All right, thank you, Dr. Tan. Yeah, hopefully, yeah, the question from Mr. Adan Khulis, yeah, from Nahdlatul Ulama University of Yogyakarta, it has been answered. All right, we proceed to the next question. This is from Sahat, yeah. We move from Taiwan, yeah. Sahat from Taiwan, and the question addressed to Prof. Tan Kim Hua. And also there are two questions. The first, how to conduct a debriefing into subgroups, approximately 5 students in a small group participant. And the second, how does a teacher select leaders and prepare them in terms of instruction? Okay, thank you, Doctor.
With reference to your first question, how can you divide them into groups? If it's virtually, you can have breakout rooms like what we are having now for small groups. And how do you select leaders? Leaders are identifiable in any class. They are the one who usually volunteers. They are more outspoken. They occupy most of the speaking time, and that's the leader. So you should get someone of that nature to be the leader of the group. Okay, I hope that answers the second question in Taiwan.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Tan. And we still have one more question for Dr. Tan. This is from Emma. She is from Universitas Prima Indonesia, Medan. The question is how to get engaged with the NGS students by using the brief model, as some of them are not interesting to be asked and evaluated.
Students from engineering, you mean? From engineering. I think regardless of the disciplines, all students are like this because it's something new, the virtual learning. What more virtual debriefing? One way is to have an orientation session we explain to them what is debriefing, and you create an ambience of psychological safety within the online environment, and allow self-debriefing. That means they have to be comfortable before they could respond to you. So one way is to have small groups debriefing, where they are not in view of the whole class. Another way, like I say, maybe you can put the debriefing session as part of the assessment. That works in the Asian context. I realize if it's give them some marks for responding, whether it's orally or written. So that works. I think it works, but we don't want to make them. We don't want the debriefing session to be challenging. We have to take into account their emotions. So be very careful on how you go about assessing them. And the orientation stage, I think, is important because it's a new form of social engagement online. So you should teach them how to engage in the online environment before you even start virtual debriefing. Okay.
All right. Yeah, hopefully that's answering your question, Miss Emma, yeah, from Universitas Prima Indonesia Medan. Okay, I would like to say thanks for Mr. Adan and then Sahad from Taiwan, and the last Emma from Universitas Prima Indonesia Medan. Thank you for the questions. And now let's move to the question. Actually, we have some questions addressed to Mr. Akhyar Rido, Ph.D. All right. Yeah, let me read. We have the question. This is from Ria from UMM. Yeah, as we know that the goal of language learning is students' positive changes, especially mutual interaction. The question is, how can we apply reliable assessment during the implementation of the three-way interaction?
Okay, thank you for the question, Dr. Ria. I think this question is also related to the second questions that I read on screen from Dr. Zaki or Mrs. Zaki about how to evaluate students' learning activities in the system provided. So like this. So actually, when we talk about learning, of course, we want improvements. Yeah, improvements. However, in our department, so we look at a course, yeah, into some different perspectives. For example, is it a theory? Is it practicum? So what we expect from our students at the end? So they're able to analyze, if they're able to explain theories and all things. So if like that, yeah, if it is about knowledge. So there are two ways of evaluating it. Number one is asking questions. Yeah. HOTS question. They answer questions related to the contents, yeah, of the subjects like literature, poetry or prose, yeah. That's the case. Yeah, but then if we talk about language skills, so in our department we use a common European framework. So that's the rubric that we use. So we expect that by the end of the semester, or when they complete their study, they're able to be an upper intermediate user of English. Yeah, when we talk about English. So in our department, it's upper intermediate in their writings, in their readings, in their speaking skills. So we use that rubric actually. So we look at, for example, writing. The evaluation, we look at the coherence and the unity, for example. We look at the grammar, we look at the relevance of the content of the writing and the topics given. So we look into their writings like that. However, when it comes to speaking, for example, or a presentation, so we look at their pronunciation, their accent, but then it's more on the intelligibility. So then they don't have to speak like British people or American people. So how the ideas that they present could be well accepted by other speakers of English from different countries, for example. So basically, for language skill subject, we refer to European Common Framework, the CFR. So we use that. And for the content subjects like literature, normally it's through question and answer, essay, or paper. So we want them to write something. That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Yeah, hopefully the explanation have answered the question from Ria and also Mr. Zaki from STBA Yapari Aba Bandung. Okay, we still have questions, sir, from, it seems, from students. Yeah, her name is Dia. The question is, what is the most effective technology in maximizing the study of English skill subject? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. It depends also. So what do you mean by most effective technology in maximizing? So it depends on your comfortability. When we talk about independent learning, so like me, myself, even though I'm not that senior citizens, I don't like playing gadgets, actually. I don't like learning language through technology, frankly speaking. So I like a conventional way. I like reading novels. Yeah, I learn a lot by reading novels. I learn a lot also by discussing with my colleagues, related to some issues. I also like to consult my professors as well, my teachers in the past about what is the current things, for example, Dr. Tan.
Hi. Time flies. Yeah.
Dr. Tan is one of the person that I always look up to and learn from, and I also read a lot her works, because she was one of the premier chief editor in chief of Scopus Q1 journal. Dr. Tan.
Yes. Okay,
3L.
thank you.
3L. So if you want to read a good quality of publication, you can read and access 3L journal. That's Q1. A lot of good articles there. However, if you are digital native, I think you are quite comfortable with your gadget. So there are a lot of YouTube channels. It depends also on, are you an audio person or a tactile or what? So if you think that you are an audio person, you need to identify what is your most comfortable learning styles. For example, you are audio. If you're an audio, of course, you need to hear a lot of, for example, English songs, for example, and try to understand what is all about. Or you can watch TEDx. I advise you, if you're a student, you watch TEDx. A lot of good presentation in TEDx, not only about the language production, you can also learn how to present in front of public with great presentation slides. That's the thing that I can share. Thank you, Mr. Heri.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rido. I think since we have limited time, it will be the last question for both speakers. The question from Sri Ningsih from Akademi Kebidanan Tahiroh Al-Baiti, Bulukumba in South Sulawesi. All right, the question, how do you motivate the students to follow all instruction on LMS, as we know that many problems students have during the pandemic, including the economic matters? Thank you. Maybe Dr. Tan first could answer. Thank you.
In terms of this is the new normal. Even educators are grappling. People like us who are very senior, we are grappling with the technical challenges. I think what we should do at this moment is not to give up. Motivation can be inculcated. You must have an orientation phase and ask the students what do they understand by, for instance, psychological safety when they get in? What do they feel most daunting? Maybe talk to them, listen to them. For a change, the lecturers should not talk so much. Let the students speak. So to motivate them, you probably can go back to the reward system that we have in-person class, reward system, give them points. Virtually, maybe use emojis, thumbs up. That's the on-the-spot validation of what they have done well. Like I say, students need validation and they want our approval. So that is very important. We must show that they have done the right thing. So that would motivate them. Instead of having hardcore assessment, everything is about marks. We can do it by giving them tokens. For instance, if it's in a school, maybe by just giving them stars would work. And at the end of it, the students that have the most number of stars will be rewarded, okay, with the book, whatever works with them. Same goes for higher education. So don't give up. Everybody is challenged in this online environment. Okay, does that answer your question?
All right, thank you, Dr. Tan. Yeah, Mr. Rido.
Okay, thank you. I do agree with Dr. Tan that students need validations and approval. That's why we give them rewards, for example. Because I study about interaction, principally students need feedback, response. So that could motivate them. So whatever feedback, positive, negative, we have to give our honest and genuine feedback to our students. If they do good, we have to say they do good. If they don't really do good, they don't really do good. So we say that. But there are three other things, in interaction itself. If you read Walsh, and Shorong, and my latest book also, there are three more about interaction. Number one is to motivate students. Lecturer or teacher must be able to manage the interactions, especially during a video conference. The turn takings, that's the key. Give the students opportunity to speak. Give them opportunity to express their minds. Give them opportunity to ask questions. So questioning is number two. In the context of second language learning or foreign language learning, especially in Indonesia, many students make mistakes, Dr. Tan. Many students make, confused. They are afraid. They are anxious how to use the language, use English to present, even to write a simple sentence. It was a struggle and it was a challenge. So give them opportunity, repair, tell them this is wrong while necessary. If they make too much mistakes, you don't have to comment like Dr. Tan said, too hardcore. Every single pronunciation was marked. So it could be quite extreme. However, there is another thing outside of the interactions. So it could be through the learning contract, what we call in Indonesia is learning contract, the lesson plan. So as a lecturer, we have to be very clear at the beginning of the semester so that it would motivate them, to encourage them to be active, for example. So if by being active during the video conference, for example, or through the system, active in the forum, they will get extra marks, for example. Or it could be a bit hardcore, not that hardcore. So we need to tell them about the punishment as well. So if you miss something or your assignment or your project or the class without convincing notification, it's not about clear notification, convincing notification. So it should be another deduction maybe, or you will give additional assignment or additional work for the students. I think that's from me, Dr. Heri. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rido. Okay, that was a very clear explanation. Okay, well, everyone, well, that was such a full discussion. Thank you very much for all our speakers and also audiences for the questions. Yeah, if you have any question for those who have written down the question in the chat box, since we have a limited time, you can connect with the speakers maybe through email or website or address that provided in the end of the slide. Okay. Well, to our speakers, Dr. Tan Kim Hua and Mr. Akhyar Rido, Ph.D., as our token of appreciation, we would like to present our conference certificate for our plenary speakers today.
Well, thank you. It's wonderful.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, once again, thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are now at the end of the session. Thank you to all our speakers today, and thank you for the audiences for attending this session. And enjoy the rest of the International Conference on Language, Linguistics, Literature, and Education Conference. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. And back to our host, Peter Muhammad M.A. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Dr. Heri Kuswoyo and the great plenary sessions. Very great, very insightful and fruitful. We have Associate Professor Tan Kim Hua from UKM and also Akhyar Rido, Ph.D., Dean of Faculty of Art and Education at Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to begin our parallel session and we're going to show you the link of the breakout rooms and the ID. And here's the links and the breakout rooms for the ID of the parallel session. You may check. Oh, sorry, this is the schedule. We'd like to see the next, okay, I think, oh yeah, besides we going to show you the breakout rooms ID and the link, we also share the breakout rooms to the WhatsApp groups and also to the chat box. So you may check the chat box and also the WhatsApp groups that we share. We also shared you the breakout rooms link and also the ID. Okay, can we share now? Okay, now we're going to share once again. Here's the right one. So we share you the breakout rooms link and also the ID for the very first parallel session of the International Conference on Language, Linguistics, Literature, and Education at Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia. Please kindly check the breakout room codes and the passcode and the ID. Don't forget to link. Go to your rooms, okay, presenters, and enjoy the conference. Okay, we also shared, I would like to remind you that the absence already shared, right? The absence already shared, the attendance already shared. Please kindly check the attendance and write down your name for certificates. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have 60 minutes for the parallel session, so use your time effectively during the sessions and have a conference. See you soon.
Isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful? Isn't she precious? Less than 1 minute old. I never thought true love would be making one as lovely as she. Isn't she lovely? Made from love. Isn't she pretty? Truly the angel's best. Boy, I'm so happy. We have been heaven blessed. I can't believe
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to remind you one more time to all of you, the participants and the speakers of our parallel sessions, you may get into your breakout rooms right now because we only have 60 minutes. And then we will back again at 1 o'clock sharp for the second plenary session, okay? So I would like to remind you, would like to share again the breakout rooms ID and link. Please share the breakout rooms ID and link one more time. The committee will share you one more time the breakout room ID and the passcode. So representing all the committee, expecting all of you to join to the breakout rooms and also enjoy the conference. And I would like to remind all of you two things, that please write down your attendance. And then also we will back again at 1 o'clock sharp, 1 o'clock sharp, okay? See you at 1 o'clock sharp and happy conference. You may leave the room, go to your breakout rooms, and here's the link and also your ID for your breakout rooms. Belum, remain. Okay, one more time, we would like to invite all the speakers to get into the breakout rooms that we prepared already. Here are the Zoom ID and also the passcode. Please get into your Zoom breakout room ID and the passcode. We're going to start for 60 minutes, and after that, we're going to have a break until 1. So get into the breakout rooms, do the presentations for the very first parallel session, and we will back again at 1. Thank you very much.